We're at a point in history now where a big medical school like Johns Hopkins is actually funding research.
I smoked pot with Johnny Hopkins.
You don't know anyone named Johnny Hopkins.
Johnny Hopkins. There's a great movie in the early 90s with John Cusack, Annette Bening, and Angelica Houston called The Grifters. Really good movie, actually. But every time somebody throws that out there to describe what they perceive as a fraud, an online fraud, it kind of corrupts my memory of that movie. I should probably watch it again at some point, but let's take a look, shall we?
Sean, Esbjörn-Hargens, thanks for coming, man.
You bet. Excited to see where we go.
Yeah, I don't know where we're going to go, but it should be interesting.
Doing a lot of work kind of at the intersection of academics and UAP studies, and with a focus on experiencers. These kinds of theories of everything include religion, psychology, sociology, kind of all the different domains of human knowledge to try and integrate the
religion, sociology, psychology, all the different domains of human knowledge. Now,
core elements to see what can we really say about reality.
Violence is something that plagues us as a society.
It's ontological then? We're just not taking a look, but we're trying to somehow investigate what can be known or what we do know, just in general.
Interesting. So philosophy, cosmology, and consciousness.
Philosophy. The philosophy and cosmology and consciousness are not unrelated. I understand, but we just said sociology, religion, psychology. Now we got consciousness, which isn't even its own field. I mean, what would they be? What do you say? Psychology, religion, philosophy, cosmology. We're going to study the Big Bang. We're going to study the universe. I guess if you're going to study reality, you would have to do that. But these are it's not even that he's painting with broad strokes here. These fields unto themselves are massive. To say, anybody can say, hey, it's interdisciplinary. We blend a little of this, we blend a little of that. That probably happens no matter what field you're in. If you're studying philosophy, religion's going to creep in there, and vice versa, theology. If you're a chemist, yeah, you're studying materials. You could materials expert that would have to, or physics for that matter. But even if you're a chemist, if you're trying to synthesize, say, medication, drugs, or whatever, you got to know a little bit about biology in there too. So, yes, but you wouldn't call them interdisciplinary in the sense that you're going to really blend the two and get a hybrid. But he's blending everything. Just try to study the biggest thing. I guess it doesn't sound like a serious project.
And a lot of the esoteric traditions talk about the pineal gland and the pituitary gland. Sometimes there's debates in the esoteric literature about which of those two.
Esoteric, twice in about 5 seconds. The esoteric literature. The esoteric is not a proper, a proper modifier where you'd say the ancient Greek, right? Greek is one thing, ancient Greek is another. So you would, if you had to continue referencing Plato or Euclid or something, you would say ancient Greek. But the esoteric literature, okay, what do you mean? Just obscure literature? That's not how you would use that. I mean, you'd use it once maybe, but yeah, the esoteric it's not a specific set of literature. It just means it's out of the way of the mainstream.
Which of those two is kind of the primary kind of entry point into these other realms? But
realms.
They both seem to be involved. And, one of the things that's been interesting.
How? Don't. This is what they call tree topping in radio. It's when your hosts don't have enough depth of thought or capacity for depth to stick on a topic and dig into it, flesh out some different angles and modalities. When you treetop, you're just kind of bouncing you may not go from topic A to B, but like slight variations of each, but you're just kind of saying what they are. Like, get into it. Give me if the pituitary and pineal or pineal gland are somehow a factor into these supernatural experiences, how? And if you don't know, like, tell me what they're doing to investigate that. What's been yielded from that research? Anything? Like, don't just say, "Oh yeah, it may be it," but and then go to the next
That's
thing.
been interesting, and like John Hopkins recently did.
John Hopkins. This might have been the very first thing that tipped me off earlier, because Johns Hopkins is the university, very prestigious in every conceivable way. I think it's in Virginia or Maryland. Should look that up. But it's a top-notch school. Johns Hopkins, more than one John, or whatever. But he's going to refer to it once again as John Hopkins. That may seem like a very trivial thing, like when somebody says nuclear as opposed to nuclear. But it's one of those things that when you think about it, it's like, the word is nuclear. You know that. And why do you know that? A, because it is. B, because the nuclear thing is kind of a meme unto itself in the culture. And if you don't know that, then you're oblivious. Like, as you say nuclear, do you actually think that that's what the word is, or do you not hear yourself saying it, or what? Because the people who do that actually tend to do it repetitively. Like President Bush II used to do that all the time.
The government of North Korea proclaimed to the world that it had conducted a nuclear test. We reaffirmed our commitment to a nuclear-free Korean peninsula, the transfer of nuclear weapons or material by North Korea to achieve the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula.
After a while, it's like maybe he didn't, or maybe he figured, or he had some PR advisor saying, "Hey, just keep doing it now. Don't switch." All right. John Hopkins? You're a Ph.D., dude. John Hopkins. I mean, there's another college in that area, William and Mary. It's also an excellent college. I mean, is he going to refer to it as William and Mary Ann or George Mason University? I mean, is he going to call it George Benson University? I mean, you can't get... Yes, we all know what college he's referring to, but you know what? If we said it and he was an audience member, would he know? Maybe I shouldn't assume that we all know that. You gotta get that right. It's such a weird thing to whiff on, and he's gonna do it again.
A study in the last couple of years looking at DMT entities and trying to understand the nature of the encounters. So we're at a point in history now where a big medical school like Johns Hopkins is actually
a big medical school. I mean, it is known. Well, it's known for a handful of things, but one of which is its medicine program, I guess. Medical school.
Where did he go to medical school?
He went to Northwestern and Johns Hopkins. Is that good enough for you?
No, it's not.
Well, Brennan, those are very prestigious schools.
I smoked pot with Johnny Hopkins.
You don't know anyone named Johnny Hopkins.
It was Johnny Hopkins and Sloan Kettering, and they were blazing that shit up every day.
John Hopkins. Johnny Hopkins. What?
funding research looking at the kinds of entities that are encountered in DMT states.
And what are they finding?
So it's really fascinating to see.
Really?
Yeah.
When did this start?
And now we're going to talk about when it started, we're going to talk about the fact that they have a program that is looking into the effect on the human mind or one of these glands, maybe, when we stick a needle into somebody's arm and give them a DMT drip, and something happens that compels these entities. But the main thrust of this portion of the discussion here is that they're doing it now. But let's clarify that. When did that start? Who the hell cares?
You can pull it up. It's on the internet.
Yeah, let's pause the discussion to let's slow it down further so we can make sure to get a handle over when this research started.
There's a study they've been doing for a number of years.
A number of years. How long? A number of years. Oh. Because my unit of measurement for years is something other than a number.
And, folks like David Luke are involved. And so they're...
That name means nothing to me, but I assume he's not making it. Again, he has this very specific knowledge that maybe other people wouldn't be able to call up like that. He got that. But almost nothing else about what he said passes the eyeball test at all.
Yeah, and so they're trying to, they're using it more in therapeutic context as well, right?
Using what? DMT? Or extraterrestrial experiences for therapy? Really?
Context as well, right? With the whole psychedelic revolution, the legalization of marijuana.
The whole psychedelic revolution and the legalization of marijuana writ large was like, what, 2012, 13, 14? The psychedelic revolution? Are we talking about the 60s here? Or are we talking about research science starting to open back up to the use of mushrooms or this or that? The psychedelic revolution? If we're talking about Woodstock, that's one thing. If we're talking about something that's, yes, reemerged into the culture slightly, but I wouldn't call that a revolution. We're not all dancing out at Golden Gate Park. I mean,
you see our society warming up to the reality of other states of consciousness.
Oh,
it's not that it's untrue, but it is unserious. It's like saying the NFL is doing really well. People really seem to enjoy this sport. Yeah, it's not untrue. It's not meaningful.
Oh, wow. Look at this.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a famous study that came out.
Psychedelic research and psilocybin therapy.
Maybe if you did a search also for DMT entities and Johns Hopkins.
DMT entities. Johns Hopkins. Did you say John Hopkins again? Maybe you got it right this time.
If you did a search also for DMT entities and Johns Hopkins.
Dude, this time it's even on the screen.
But yeah, look, $55 million in funding.
He just highlighted it on the screen. Okay.
So we're moving from kind of a monophasic orientation to reality to a polyphasic.
A monophasic. And he's going to say orientation.
Orientation to reality to a polyphasic.
This reminds me of...
Back in the 60s, I developed a weather-changing machine, which was in essence a sophisticated heat beam, which we called a laser. Using these lasers, we punch a hole in the protective layer around the world, which we call the ozone layer.
We're going from a monophasic to a polyphasic. So we're going from a singular phase to a multiple phase modality.
Currently, we generally think reality is just based on what we can see with our five senses, and we take a rational approach. So it's kind of like monophasic, meaning one state of consciousness is privileged as the primary state from which to know reality.
One is the primary. Okay, primary implies some sort of rank order. Primary, secondary, tertiary. quaternary. But that would be poly. I'm splitting semantic hairs, but I don't believe that he is using any of these terms cleanly. So this is kind of what this is.
Privileged as the primary state from which to know reality. So waking, rational, scientific consciousness is what's kind of ruled the day for the last 600 years. We're shifting to a polyphase.
Waking, rational. Okay, so we're awake. We're using a rational thought. Scientific. Scientific is constructed after the fact on top of those things. It wouldn't be at the same it wouldn't be on the same shelf or shelving as those other two. It's kind of ruled the day, 600 years or so. It's kind of more or less this. Yeah, these couple of things, some of the science, we got 600 years, give or take. I mean, you're right. So we got 600 years of just, science and rationality. What was the other thing you said? I forget. Doesn't matter. But what we're doing with our interdisciplinary integration of modalities or whatever, we're throwing that out, or we're making a hard left over here into this other vague thing. Oh, that's right. So these three things here, which we're defining as mono, one, I guess we're crushing that into a brick of mono, and we're shifting to poly. They would be as mutually exclusive from one another as these three other things, but one's mono, one's poly.
Mode where multiple states of consciousness are being recognized as having value and access to different aspects of reality.
Waking, dreaming, or unconscious, or because those have never been recognized as having any value until we came in. And by the way, now it's poly. Even though we had three things over. Oh, waking was the other one. Waking, rational, scientific. That's mono. Over here we got just other modes. Poly.
And this being one example with John Hopkins' research.
John Hopkins. It's psychedelic. I mean,
looking into that. So we're seeing this, shift in.
No. I mean, we may be seeing some increased openness, but that's not really. It's not what you're saying.
What's real?
It has to be the case that some people have a higher perception than others, or have heightened sensory input and output than other people. And one of the best ways that was ever put to me is my friend Paul Rosalie, who spent like the last 20 years living in the Amazon rainforest. He went from
one of my best friends who spent the last 20 years living in the Amazon rainforest. How old is Danny? What is he, his 30s? So what, he hasn't seen this guy since he was 15? He's been in the rainforest for 20 years. He went straight from Flatbush Avenue, took a cab over to JFK, flew out of there right down to Sao Paulo or Cape Horn.
He got down there after being down there for a couple of days. It was like being disconnected from society and all the technology and all the computers and phones and TV screens.
He's been down there for 20 years, but after just 3 days, he went native.
Your senses and your perception is raised when you're in this environment of nature, disconnected from modern technology.
Yeah, totally.
We found that in our interdisciplinary research.
Part of my background is I've been a wilderness guide leading out.
Oh, of course, you do the wilderness too. You're in a lab here. You're getting your Ph.D. You're crunching numbers. You're teaching. You're over at John Hopkins. It's eating mushrooms, get the DMT drip. But you're a wilderness guy too.
Or trips at different phases in my life.
Different
and
phases.
In ecopsychology, there's this whole notion of the wilderness effect, which basically says that when you take a group of people out into nature for an extended period, it usually takes them around 5 days.
He's just repeating. This is what psychics do to hoodwink people. You give them just enough sort of context clues. Hey, what are you curious about today? Oh, my mom just died. She had cancer. I want to see if you can, summon her up for me. Oh, tell me about her. Where'd she grow up? And then it kicks back to the or it outputs, or the psychic outputs the same shit you just inputted into her or him. That's just what he pulled. Listen to that. Well, whatever.
To kind of detox from kind of civilization.
You mean the phones and the screens and all that shit?
You see a transition in them, kind of in this moving into the second week of the trip.
A couple of days.
Where what you just described starts to happen, right? Where, they orient differently. They kind of are in touch with their sleep cycle and their body, and
they're in touch with their sleep cycle. They're in touch with it?
Their food in a different way. And, I remember...
Well, you're going to be eating much different food if you're in the Amazon.
When I was younger in college, I was an assistant leader to a trip, and we went to Utah Canyonlands. And the trip leader, right as we were getting ready to, leave the van, for 2 weeks, he put a bandana on the ground, and he said, okay, just one last kind of, activity. I think you guys are going to like this. He says, take off your watches, put your watch in the bandana, and then I'll tell you what's going to happen next. So we all do that. And then once they're all in the bandana, he walks over, he ties it up, unlocks the van, puts it in the van, shuts the van, and says, all right, let's go. We're all like, what? And then I realized, over the next, few days, I didn't have my watch.
Does it feel like he just invented that little anecdote in real time? I mean, he had time to do it, because it's not that it's so vague and unremarkable. While Danny was telling his little story about his buddy who went from Brooklyn to the Amazon, ditching his screens. And then this guy describing back to Danny the exact same thing in more laborious language. He had time to kind of concoct that. And there was nothing unique in there that would have made that a worthwhile, story to tell. Yeah, we got out of the van. There was a bandana. Oh, a bandana? You mean not like a bucket or anything? A bandana, huh? People who wear bandanas, they're kind of out there. So I'm in. Yeah, put your watches in there. What's he gonna do with them? And then days later, I realized I didn't have my watch.
Right, and I used to say, oh, it's 4 o'clock. I'm hungry, right?
The hell you did.
Right? Or, oh, it's 8 o'clock. I should get up, So I noticed that I tended to refer to the watch to know how I felt or where I was at.
You noticed that? When you were doing it before this road trip? I noticed myself checking my watch to see when it was dinner time or when it was time to get up. It's like you're in bed, you awake, and you're unsure as to what should happen next. Oh, it's 8 o'clock.
In my daily cycle. But when he took the watch away, this process that you described started to happen more readily.
More readily? Well, what process? Like your sensory experience became more primal and more readily? Like there was some preparation or there was some, I guess, preparation involved? Readily.
In this trip, right? So I started to look at different reference points for knowledge and understanding.
Knowledge and understanding? How are those vague terms relevant here? Knowledge and understanding of what? When it's time to take a leak, when it's time to make dinner or get up?
Like, oh, check in with my actual stomach to see if I'm hungry.
Stomach? My watch isn't available right now because some asshole locked it in a van wrapped up in a bandana, and I'm unsure as to what to do here. So I figured I'd just ask politely if you need anything. What the hell is this? Is
Like notice, am I tired or not tired? Should I?
notice it? Oh yeah, I was thinking about what should be intuitively obvious or physiologically obvious. I was thinking about whether or not I was tired and had to make a decision on that.
Sleep or get up, right? So I think there is a lot to say about this kind of process that your friend described.
Well, obviously, you've just said it in 5 different ways over the last 5 minutes.
And this is a big reason why I got into studying the phenomenon.
That is a big reason why you got into what phenomenon? UFOs? This is why you got into that? This thing that Danny just coughed up and that you just sort of mangled, that's what got you into what phenomenon? Please.
Really fascinated. My background in part is in philosophy of science.
Do you say in part is in, like 4 words? Or do you say my background is partisan?
And this is a big reason why I got into studying the phenomenon, was I was really fascinated. My background in part is in philosophy of science.
In part is in, okay, philosophy of science. All right.
And kind of what makes valid knowledge.
But that's yet another field that he's trained in. He doesn't sound like he's trained in anything except he sounds like he's just crammed for an exam, or in this case, a podcast, and he came across enough, I'll say technical terms, even they're not all that technical, but he's trying to force them as if they are. But he may know vaguely what they mean, or he may know superficially what they're supposed to mean or what they might refer to, but he's shoehorning. My next door neighbor, when we were both little, but she had her teeth pulled, and her mother, this girl's name was Abby, because Abby couldn't, she was going to have trouble chewing. Her mother took her pasta or spaghetti dinner, spaghetti and meatballs, and this is literal. She put it in the blender, pureed it, poured it out, and Abby drank it. Like this. That's what this feels like. He's taking something that exists in one form, or maybe you could have spaghetti, you could have penne, you could have whatever, pesto sauce, but it's more or less the same dish, kind of. But this guy's taking any and all variations of that, just take it and go, and then making us drink it. No. And by the way, claiming to be a gourmet who trained in Paris.
And kind of what makes valid knowledge, and how do we understand what's real. And I was very intrigued by the many stories of individuals who, let's say there's 3 folks out.
Many. Individuals, people, you mean?
In the evening on the back of a tailgate, having a beer and talking and looking at the sky, and they have a UFO encounter. And 2 of them see it. The 3rd person doesn't see it, but the 2 people who do see it think it's really close. Mm-hmm. One person sees it as being kind of a classic saucer shape. The other person sees it more as like an orb. And so you get these 3 conflicting reports. One person says, I didn't see anything. 2 people say we did see something, but they don't agree necessarily on the specifics. Mm. And we generally in our society would use that to say, oh, we just dismiss it because there's no agreement. Clearly, like, people are making things up. They had a beer, whatever.
What'd you see? UFO. What'd you see? An orb. What'd you see? Nothing. Nope. Case closed.
Because there's no agreement. Clearly, like, people are making things up. They had a beer, whatever.
How would you describe your frame of mind at the time? That was fine. We just, each had a bush light in the back of this guy's flatbed. Oh, so you guys were totally wasted then. There's nothing you can say that's credible about this night. Your Honor, I move to dismiss.
But I started to sense, like, wait, I think these people actually did see something.
I started to sense, after that guy denied it, I came back to the guy with the orb. I was like, there's something here.
And so why did that one guy not see anything? And then why did those two people see something different?
Yeah, I asked the natural follow-up question that anybody who was breathing would ask. I have a Ph.D.
And that led me into thinking about this point you're making.
What are they handing out PhDs like they hand out, Nerf bats at the ball game? Like,
with respect to senses and inner senses and different.
With respect to senses and inner senses. What other kind of senses are there? Unless, I forgot, we're moving away from the 600-year-old materialist tradition into this other thing. There's outer senses, apparently.
Modes of sensing and perceiving.
Like what?
And, because my background is in consciousness studies.
I thought it was in philosophy of science or something else.
And kind of the esoteric and contemplative traditions.
Esoteric and contemplative traditions. Like what? Yoga or something? Or that? Because he went up back in philosophy of science, esoteric and contemplative traditions, and what else? And he's a wilderness.
You're making with respect to senses and inner senses and different modes of sensing and perceiving. And, because my background is in consciousness studies.
Consciousness studies. The thing you said earlier that we're, okay.
And kind of the esoteric and contemplative traditions, I knew that there are vast literatures.
Literatures. It's interesting. He affixes the S to literature, but omits it from John's. Vast literatures.
And so I started looking at that literature.
He keeps coming back to this thing where there's this experience he has. Oh yeah, I kept coming back, and then I started looking into this, which I don't even believe at this point, but or that if he did it carried any functional meaning. But it's this same sort of end around he keeps recycling and just sort of dressing up. Or it's like a ride at an amusement park. The roller coaster takes 20 people on it, and then it comes back and the ride's over. A bunch of people get out and more people get on, different people. And that's what it's just, we go off on this thing, then we come back, we're done, you're out, you're in, it's a new thing.
To try and understand how is it different people might be seeing different things.
How? By being different. Like, I'm different from you. I have this brain. I have these inner senses, these subtle senses of my own, which are different from yours. I mean, that would be a pretty obvious starting point.
Right? Because you also have a dynamic.
You have a dynamic.
Where some people will report that they see fairy beings.
You see they'll report this. Again, this clumsy language, formal to informal. Some individual they'll report that they see fairy beings. What the is that? Fairy beings? Yeah, there's this really crazy thing going on over here where some people report fairy beings, and then over here it's totally different. Some people see fairies, some people see angels, some people see aliens. What's the deal with that?
Or you have someone like Stephen Greer says, I've never encountered a negative ET in my life. They're all positive. And then you have other people who have abduction experiences.
Oh, wow.
And other people who report they see extraterrestrials.
That's eye-opening. Some people are terrified out of their minds by these experiences, and then there's this one guy who steadfastly claims that, hey, it's all, we're welcome in their house anytime.
Right. So there's a wide range of experiences
That's not a wide range. That's just
being encountered. And then you have someone like Chris Bledsoe.
Yep. You mean the guy Danny brought up at the very beginning, who we've already talked about extensively, who you're going to just re-describe in vague terms?
Who I call a super experiencer.
You refer to him that way routinely? A super experiencer? Like a super spreader?
Who's kind of seen and experienced a full range of phenomena.
Okay, so we had one group of people seeing fairies, and we got people seeing angels. Then we got people seeing extraterrestrials. But Stephen Greer in that group has had nothing but positive experiences. But then Bledsoe parachutes in; he's seeing everything.
So I kept asking myself, why are some people seeing?
So I circled back to that, and I started to look into this. Why would these people see this? We need a method for this. Let's call it the scientific method. We'll have a control group and a variable group.
One kind of thing, and other people seeing a lot of different things. So, like, why does one person only see ghosts in their life, and another person see
ghosts too? Is that common? Not just that some people have claimed to see ghosts, but that they see those exclusively and through their
extraterrestrials, Bigfoot, poltergeist activity.
I only see Bigfoot. I know you idiots over here are looking at fairies. You're looking at angels. Greer's off having drinks with the ETs. These people are terrified of him. Bledsoe sees everything. In fact, maybe one himself. This guy over here is seeing ghosts his entire life.
Integrative meta-theories to look at the phenomenon. I started running an online course for 3 months on what I call exo-studies, right?
What I call exo-studies. So it's not actually a field. It's something that it's probably something that doesn't really deserve its own naming as a field, but you're calling it that. As if, okay.
Like an integral approach to the phenomenon.
Integral approach to the exo-studies, an integral approach to the phenomenon. Those things have no connection. Those terms, even in the most vague sense, have no connection to one another. In certainly not in this ridiculous context.
And initially, I started the course because I wanted a platform to talk about
This is like a LinkedIn post. And watch, he's going to say, initially I did this, but then I started to look at this.
How we might think about these phenomenon from an integrative perspective.
From an integrative perspective. By taking this and this and this and calling that a perspective, whatever in integrative, you had a way of looking at it, or multiple ways of looking at it. You combine them. What were they? Other than just a thought about something, a whim.
A bunch of people signed up.
I can't get 5 people to like a video that has about 1,200 views. A bunch of people signed up for exo studies, though.
And, like 30, 40 people signed up. And what happened in that?
How much did you charge for that?
First course was people were more interested in sharing their experiences.
So you were going to teach them exo studies by using an integrative perspective. What was being integrated? Who the hell knows? And I don't know if you charge these people are not, these students, these Rhodes scholars that walked in that signed up for this, for Exile studies. But then when we arrived in the classroom, these people just wanted to talk about looking at lights in the sky or being hauled off on a saucer. So I just said, let's roll with it.
And I was a little surprised by this because
I said I was going to teach them some other shit. And then they showed up and started talking about this. I was like, what's going on here?
I just was wanting to kind of have more of an intellectual discussion.
If I had signed up for that course, I would have too.
But because I created a safe space to look.
Oh. You know, there's that moment if you go to like a circus, where on rare occasions you see the tightrope walker or a pilot. They're doing whatever they do up there. That's obviously very high stakes. And there's that moment where you realize what looks like it's about to become an accident is actually not part of the show, and it becomes one. Like the acrobat, the tightrope walker tumbles to his death, or the pilot is doing, and then all of a sudden, boom! There's two blue angels smacking into one another, and all the kids are looking up. They're like, "Hey, is that real?" That's the feeling I'm having watching this right now.
Look at this phenomenon from a lot of different angles.
Oh, angles, right? We got perspectives, we got integration happening, but we're getting different angles.
Privileging one side or one interpretation over another, people felt it was safe to share their own experiences.
I mean, we guys, I just want you to know, whether we're talking exo studies or perspectives or phenomenology or philosophy of science or ET or this or angels or ferry boats or whatever that guy said, this is a safe space. No opinion is without merit. Everybody's equal here. Go to it.
And what I started to discover in that
what I started to discover when I looked into it,
course and subsequent courses,
when I ran this bullshit again,
is a lot of people are having these experiences.
The big yield from having flim-flam people to coming in the door at some undisclosed price, maybe it was $0, who knows. The big yield from not teaching this made-up bullshit that doesn't mean anything and isn't anything, because I call exo studies, and just letting people talk by insisting there's a safe space to do so. The main yield, after having to run that again, and maybe one other time after that, is that people have different experiences.
And so I would say over the last 5 years, I've been in direct conversation with probably 500 people.
Direct conversation. So 500 people took this course, 30 to 40 the first time. We'll just say 50. 500 people. So he's run this thing 10 times, couple of months at a time. 10 times. What do you say, 3 months? So 30 months. That's 2.5 years, but somehow we get to 5. 2.5. Okay, maybe we did. All right. But he's in direct contact with all 500.
Who have a wide range of experiences.
Again, just to make sure everybody's clear. 500 people, a wide range of experiences. We got fairies, we got ghosts, we got poltergeists, we got Bigfoot, we got aliens, we got... What was the other thing you said? It doesn't matter. But that's a wide range.
And they usually don't talk about it.
But here's a safe space that I created. So there's a difference between this safe space and anywhere else that these 500 people have ever been.
I also started to discover that.
And then I started to discover
a lot of my friends who I'd known for 20, 30 years.
Wait, which friends were these? Oh, people you've known. Got it.
Had these experiences, and they had never talked about it to me or anyone else.
Wait, you've been kidnapped by aliens? And you saw Bigfoot? And you're looking at fairies? And you're looking at angels? You guys should come hang out at this class I've been teaching for the last 2.5 years. You guys would fit right in. I never knew this. Did you tell him this? Huh.
So I realize there's a big taboo that prevents people from talking about it.
If you say so.
Part of it's because they self-doubt.
Oh, that's what holds everybody back. The people who you've known for the last 20 years and these 500 other schmoes, that's what explains that they would only reveal all this in your safe space, that there's a taboo. Which is upstream of self-doubt. This is some wild, complex shit, man.
And they even questioned what they saw.
I mean, when you said that there's a taboo and there's self-doubt, that I wouldn't think that we could take it any farther out there than that. But if you say that they're questioning themselves too, in addition to self-doubt, they're questioning themselves. Those are two very different things.
But when you start to create a safe place to explore and talk about this,
dude, you got of everything you could have pulled from the woke operator manual to overplay, safe space was not the right choice.
or considering different theories that might help explain it, then people generally have a lot to say about it. And I feel that these experiences are much more ubiquitous than what kind of general perception is.
You said you had your own experiences?
Yeah.
Be on the